Hello and welcome to the Tradie Business School podcast, the podcast where we have real conversations and share practical tips on how you can run your trade or contracting business more enjoyably, profitably, and to have far more control. I'm Miranda Hill. It is so nice to be here with you. Today, I wanted to have a conversation with you all about how to free up more time. So it's an interesting one, time. So I'm just wondering this, does your day run you or do you run your day? Now, often I look at time and I look at people who are chaotically busy, and it seems as if the tail is wagging the dog. This can often be what happens, especially in trades businesses. There is so much to do when there are no systems in place, when the business owner is often still on the tools. There is often a situation where there are grappling with paperwork, quotes are coming in or inquiries are coming in thick and fast at certain times of the year. And without systems in place, without clear mechanisms and great support to get all of those things running like a machine, time is always quoted as the biggest issue. I don't have time for this. I was talking with a client, he was a contractor a number of weeks ago, and he was working 80 to 100 hours a week. The business was completely running him. The phone was ringing red hot. It was insane, and it's not sustainable. And I'm wondering if this is you and whether it be 80 to 100 hours or if it's 60, whatever it is for you, and it feels busy and you feel like you can't take a breath, that you can barely scratch your nose. Lunchtime is kind of on the run in the front seat of the car, and you feel like you're behind in all the admin and paperwork. You get home late at night. It's that dawn till dusk lifestyle. It's dark all the time. You're packing your ute up after hours after dinner. Maybe you're missing the kids going to bed. There's a whole range of things that are going on when people work that amount of hours. But essentially, it's not sustainable. It's just not. And something's going to break. And in the case of the client I was talking about just earlier, it's, something was going to break, and it was probably going to be him. And it can be physically, it can be emotionally, mental health can struggle. So this conversation around freeing up more time, and the conversation around time to me is super important. It's the ripples of time pressure can and then alleviating that are huge. The benefits are huge. So, why do business owners let things get so bad that time is so precious to them, that time is running away with them? They don't seem to have enough, and the pain that it's causing on their everyday life and on their business, and the impact on the business becomes so great before they ask for help or even start looking at creating change. I don't know the answer other than I think I believe and I know our level of comfort will always increase. You think about it, if you put your foot into a shoe that doesn't quite fit, sit it there long enough and it slowly begins, okay, I can kind of survive and I'm not dying in this shoe. Now, if you wore it for any length of time, you'd start rubbing and getting blisters and your toes would get sore. But it's really interesting how we can get comfortable with things that are uncomfortable. We habitualize them, we get used to them. So as a trades business grows and gets busier, it begins to eat more time, and the less control there is on the operations of the business, the less systemization that's in place, the greater the time pinch and the pressure on the business owner and the people in the business. But most often it's the business owner who is wearing many, many hats. But it's interesting because it happens incrementally, and they don't notice. They don't notice how it's incrementally creeping up. And then before they know it, they're working huge hours every week. Now you cast your mind back to when maybe the business was quieter or it was even starting up, And if you'd said, oh, you're going to be working 80 hours a week in X number of months, would you have continued? Don't know. You probably would have made some changes back then. That aside, though, consider if your business is growing and you've noticed, if you cast your mind back to 12 months ago, was the effect of your business and the commitment and responsibilities of running that business, did it take less time back then? You think about that number and now think about the number of hours you're working now. And then you can start looking at your future and begin to see where you could be headed. And now's the time to create change. So let's talk about time. Here's one of the interesting things about time is, and you may have heard this, time is the most valuable resource that we have as a human being. We don't ever get it back. Money we can earn more of. Time, once it's gone, will never come back. That's it. Most valuable resource we have. The other interesting thing about time, and you may have, I wonder if you're sitting and listening, if you've ever said this, I need to manage my time better. The interesting thing is that time management is a myth. We cannot manage time. It passes. The only thing that we can manage is ourselves. That's it. Time management is a myth, doesn't exist. We can only manage ourselves and our response and how we plan and what we do with time. We all get 24 hours in a day, 1,440 minutes every day. That's it. That's what we get. Richard Branson gets the same 24 hours as you and I do. Elon Musk does. All of the business owners that run multiple businesses, billion-dollar businesses, do that with the same 24 hours that potentially you are rushing around in. So the only difference is the choices that they make and how they choose to invest in their time. Notice that language there, invest in their time. Imagine that you had a bank account and in that bank account were $1,440 deposited every day for you. $1,440. And if you didn't spend that $1,440, at midnight, it would expire and go away and you would get the next $1,440 the next day. It wouldn't accrue. It wouldn't add up. There was no interest. It was there. You used it. And if you didn't, it was gone. How would you think about that money? Would you let it just disappear? Would you wait all day and only use like $50 of it? Or what would you choose to invest in to get the most out of that money? Maybe you would invest it in things that would give you a greater return dollar for dollar. Maybe you would invest in something that you would get a $2 return out of and you would double it every day. Imagine if you did that. So think about how you would spend those dollars, those $1,440 to get your best return. It's the same with time. Yet, interestingly, so many business owners and other people will let that just slip through. And at the end, it'll be taken out of their account. It's gone. They can never get it back. Oh, well, I'll get some more tomorrow and I'll just use that. Perhaps I hope that that's changed how you possibly may think about how you invest in your time. Invest in your time as if it was money going out of your account. Some of the excuses that I often hear, excuses and reasons. Excuses might sound a little bit harsh, yet it's quite really what is happening. There are a lot of excuses around time and not being able to work on a business and head towards goals. As well, I've got an employee that's sick or left. And I'll just stop for a moment. When I say excuses, is there is always going to be another way. They're reasons, and I'm not for a second saying that they're not valid. Like if an employee calls in sick and you've got to cover, that's very real and you have to respond to that. You have to do something. Yet, as this progresses over time, you do notice that some of these may come up more and more often as perhaps excuses rather than this is a singular reason here in this moment. And when that pattern emerges, then I would label it as an excuse rather than a one-off reason. So maybe your turnover is creeping up and people are leaving. There have been very real reasons during COVID of people not being able to come into work or calling in sick or having to isolate, all very real reasons. I always hear, I'm back on the tools and I can't do an X, Y, and Z to work on my business and head it towards its goals. Too busy, I'm managing staff, all the staff issues going on, I'm putting out fires. The phone won't stop ringing. I've seen it. I've sat on client calls where the phone won't stop ringing. They keep taking the calls, and it's like, I have to take these calls. Or people are in meetings out quoting and talking to people all day. They're all reasons that time is not invested in working on the business and doing the things that will move it forward and grow it rather than hamster wheeling in the moment. Let me ask you this. If your best friend was hit by a car today, would you find time to go to the hospital? If your best friend was hit by a car today, would you find time to go and see them? And we always make time for the things that matter, the things that matter most. Think if that was a loved one, a best friend, something like that. I've got a couple of questions for you. Thinking about your day or your week, what is the current way of doing things costing you? What is the current way of doing things costing you? There's always a cost to a choice we make in any moment. There's a gain and a cost. And sometimes that cost is okay. But just think for a moment, what's it costing me to keep making the same choices about how I invest my time? What is the cost to me? What is the cost to my business? The next question, what is your time narrative? And what I mean by that is, what is the thing that you say all the time about time? Think there's probably a few phrases that you may recognize. Maybe you use these as like, I'm time poor, I'm too busy, I don't have enough time, those sorts of things that you say aloud and you also replay in your head. And what we can do with that time narrative is just know that our mind is listening, and the more we say that, that will become our reality. Be very careful about those things that you say repetitively all of the time, because they do become a reality. I know this personally. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I noticed that I would always say, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't have enough time. And when I became consciously aware of the frequency in which I would say I don't have enough time, I was quite surprised, a little horrified that I was saying it that often. And so what I did is replaced it with a more empowering narrative, a more empowering saying or mantra. And mine was, and you're all welcome to use this listening, use it or create your own, but mine was, I have all the time I choose to do everything I need. I have all the time. There we go. I'm going to say it a slightly different way. I have all the time I need to do everything I choose. I have all the time I need to do everything I choose. And contrast that with I don't have enough time, which was a narrative running all the time and saying aloud too, I have all the time I need to do everything I choose. Notice the energy in that. Now, I would repeat that at least 5 times every morning in the shower aloud. I would repeat it driving down the highway. I would repeat it multiple times every single day. And I did that for months. And it was very interesting how things changed around my feelings around time. That's my third question for you. What are your feelings about time? What do you feel about time? When you think about time, do you feel pressure? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel scarcity? Do you feel worry? Do you feel, or just what do you feel? Or do you feel joy and space and abundance? It could be anything, but what do you feel about time? Notice what you feel. Notice it. That's the first stage of changing our relationship with time, is noticing what we feel, and then we can choose to feel something else. And by doing step 2, what is your narrative, and changing that, you'll notice your feelings change about time. Now, time management is a choice. It is all about choices. It's that simple. To free up more time, make better choices. Choose to invest in your time to get the maximum return on investment. How to free up more time? It's not rocket science. It is just not. There are 3 key elements to it, and that is to prioritize. Number 2 is to plan. And number 3 is to act. Prioritize what matters. One of the best questions that you can ask yourself is what I'm doing right now the highest and best use of my time? I'd write that down. If you're driving, don't write it down. Come back and find the replay. But if you've got a pen and paper near you, write this down. Is what I'm doing right now the highest and best use of my time? Prioritize what is the highest and best use of your time to invest in. Plan it and schedule it. Put it in your diary, map it out, write it down. Do not keep it in your head. Write it down. Plan it, look at it. And then most importantly, act. And in that action, make different choices around your time. You must take action. Writing it on a piece of paper is not enough. What you choose to do, the actions that you take with your time, is where you will actually begin to free up time. To free up time, you make different choices. That's it. Make different choices, make different decisions, approach time differently, and change your relationship with it. Prioritize, plan, and act. That's all for today. I am so pleased you've joined me. If you loved what you've heard, drop a comment below, hit the like button, share it with your friends. This time conversation goes greater than trades and contractors. It's for every human being. So share it, and I cannot wait to see you again on the next episode. Bye for now.